So if you watch this channel, you know that we visited all 103 state parks in Michigan. On a recent weekend, we wanted to do a little bit of a quick getaway and just kind of have some downtime. So we headed south of the border into Ohio.
And if you want to know where in Ohio we went, here.
You can,
it's like literally over the border.
You can still use the Michigan map as long as we're in Ohio. Harrison Lake State Park, where we ended up for the weekend, really is close to the border. It's within about 10 miles. And this is actually in the stretch of land that Ohio and Michigan fought each other over in Congress when Michigan was trying to become a state, like back in the 1830s, right?
Yeah.
And the idea was they had to determine where the Ohio-Michigan line was going to be. And the way it ended up was Michigan ended up with the Upper Peninsula, and Ohio ended up with what is known as the Toledo Strip, about that 11-mile section. I think we won.
Yeah, I think we got the better end of this deal.
Nothing against Northern Ohio, but I love the UP.
It's just a lot of cornfields.
It is a lot of cornfields. And what's really interesting about this, too, when you look at where Harrison Lake State Park is, you're driving along and it's cornfield after cornfield, farm. And then off in the distance, you see some trees all of a sudden. And when you get an aerial shot of where the park is at, it's literally a lake with some woods around it and then a lot of farmland.
Part of the reason there is this lake here is because it's actually a man-made lake. There was a creek that ran through the area, probably through the woods, and then that land was cleared for some of the farms, but they left the creek for fishing and hunting areas. But they dammed it up. So now there's Harrison Lake, and the state park encircles the whole lake there.
If I remember the history correctly, it was 1941 when they put in the dam and made the lake. And then the state essentially kept the area for kind of hunting and fishing. And then in 1950, they established Harrison Lake State Park. And at that point, they started to develop it more for campgrounds and other things.
Harrison Lake State Park actually has two campgrounds. It has a modern campground and a rustic campground on opposite sides of the lake. So you've got a couple different options if you want to stay there.
Yeah, North Campground has electric, and the sites there seemed bigger to me, maybe because they have more RVs and larger trailers there, but they were certainly spaced apart more, so you had a little more elbow room between you and your neighbor. In the South Campground where we stayed, and there is some electric in part of it towards the front, but then in the back where we stayed, it was non-electric area. And the sites, for the most part on the edges, seem pretty deep, but they're really close together.
I really did feel a little bit more crammed in on the south side. The campground there is set up sort of in a track oval shape, so you've got people camped in the middle grassy area and then around the outsides of the little park road. And those of us on the outside of the loop had, like you said, had some deep sites, but those inside sites were really crammed together. And this was a camping weekend where everybody had 8,000 bikes and inflatables for the lake and tents and screen tents and picnic tables and laundry lines. And like literally they brought their entire houses with them to go camping. So there was just stuff everywhere. And in fact, we laughed because one campsite had set up like little orange electrical marker flags around their campsite. I'm assuming so that the neighbors didn't infringe on their space. But I think everybody really enjoyed it. And we saw a lot of groups camping together. And so in some cases, they had kind of combined their sites, put up their big tents and their, canopies. And so that those close together sites actually really work really well for group outings like that.
It did seem like a popular park for families. There were a ton of families, a lot of kids. I'm not sure what the speed limit is in Ohio state parks, but they should be like 5 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour. You almost wiped out and took out a little kid on a bike who decided to turn in front of you while you were on your bike.
On my bike, yes.
So they just kind of went everywhere. So please be careful when you're going through state parks like that. But a big family park, I noticed, and there's plenty to do there. With the lake, it's known for fishing. There's a boat ramp there. Folks can put their boats in. It is a... They allow any horsepower, but it's no wake. So even if you have a big boat, you got to go really slow. But it's known for fishing. And then there is a small beach, about 150 feet. And a lot of families were there. I know I shot some footage early in the morning before we left, and it looks empty, like nobody wants to be on the beach. The afternoon before, it was packed. Everybody was all over that thing.
And it was so hot that day, too. So it was like the best place for everybody to be was in that lake.
Yeah, there are a lot of warning signs in that lake, and there are in parts of Ohio, apparently, because there's an issue with some blue-green algae. So it's one of those where get in the water, be careful, try not to swallow the lake water. Good luck telling your kids that. But anyway.
Go take a shower afterward. I mean, we chose not to go in the lake for a couple different reasons, but the kids were enjoying it, very much so. And it looked like it was an extremely popular place all summer long, I'm guessing.
And we did go into the lake on our kayak. We carry an inflatable kayak, and we went out and did some kayaking around the lake. It's about 3.5 miles, I think, of shoreline around the lake, and then that ends up going into a little river that we followed for a while. And
well, I'm assuming that was the creek that was dammed up at one time, that
right.
the original part of it. Yeah,
that would make sense. So it was really peaceful out there. That was really nice. I enjoyed that. The facilities seemed nice. We didn't use them. It was interesting because of everything going on with the COVID-19 pandemic right now. State Park was open. The bathrooms and everything were open, but they had signs encouraging people to use their own facilities if they had them. So if you have a self-contained unit, use it. And that was really good, I think, because they have the non-electric sites, and there were quite a few tents there.
Yes.
So leaving those bathroom facilities available for people that are in tents and letting the folks in the RVs use the RV facilities, I thought was a good compromise and balance for that. But they seem to be staying on top of them in terms of keeping them clean. And because they appear to be in good shape, and I also noticed there were a number of them spread throughout the campgrounds. So no matter where you were on the loops, you had a bathroom pretty close to you if you needed it. So that was nice to see.
Because this is such a family-friendly park, there is quite a bit to do there. So in addition to the swimming beach area, you've got a couple playgrounds, you've got a basketball court, a sand volleyball pit, you've got kayak rentals, and some other activities like a trail that you can walk around the lake with.
You could, yeah, it's essentially sort of a hiking trail. You could bike it. We tried it.
I wouldn't recommend biking it, actually. That really wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, it's marked as a hiking trail. It doesn't say no bikes. And I thought, well, let's take our bikes and we'll ride what we can. And then if we need to walk part of it, we can. We ended up walking quite a bit of it because of the hills and the way our bikes are set up. And there's some
and the
stairs.
bridge and stairs. And yeah.
Well, the other thing, though, too, it's kind of an odd trail because it's almost like they just connected parts of the park. So some of it is through the woods. Some of it is right along the lake. Some of it you walk through the boat ramp area. Other parts you're by the road.
Yeah, through the campground.
Through the campground. Yeah. So having our bikes was actually nice for the areas that were wide open like that. You could ride through and then you get off and walk in other parts. The only thing I found, too, is that it almost seems like the trail was a little bit of an afterthought because they use like these PVC, little thin PVC pipes to mark the trail where it started. Yeah. But it was still kind of nice to be able to get back in there and wander around.
Yeah, it was a really nice hike, actually, and I would encourage you to go and take that loop because you do kind of get to go around the lake and into the woods. And in a couple places, they have some little interpretive markers up on the trees telling you what the different trees are that you're walking through. So it was a really nice trail. I would just suggest walking it, not biking it.
Yeah, I remember you stopping to take a picture of a buckeye tree, you know, being a true Michigander. Oh, look, a buckeye tree. We don't have those.
I mean, we just make fun of them.
Yeah, people from Ohio would have seen us to be like, it's just a buckeye tree.
One thing that's a little bit different about Ohio that we didn't actually realize till we got there is that Ohio state parks are generally free for day visitors. Now, you still have to pay for your camping site, but anybody, whether you're an Ohio resident or an out-of-state resident, can just come in to the park for free for the day. So I think that's also why it makes it really popular.
And if you are there camping and the mood hits you that you need to get a treat, about 6.5 miles away is
Homestead's Ice Cream Shop.
Of course, our ice cream tour, not just of Michigan, but apparently of the United States, continues. Really good ice cream. It is a family-run business. They had it for a number of years, several generations. Somebody else bought it, basically went bankrupt with it. Now the original family has bought it back, and they're trying to build it up again. And it is small batch, homemade ice cream right there on the premises, and it was really, really good. So highly recommended.
Whether you live in Ohio or across the border in Michigan, or maybe over in Indiana, because it's not that far either, this is a great place and a great state park to check out.
Gather some friends, gather your family, get out for the weekend or more if you can. Keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.
In the long run, I like the UP.
Oh, sorry, I got distracted.
Okay.
Because there's a pretty deer running through.
I don't know, when did you get distracted?
Oh, a long time ago.
Okay.
Oh, hi. Look,
deer,
look.
squirrel.
No, he's eating.
Hello, Mr. Deer. It's a buck.
It's a nice buck. I don't know where his friend is. Marking the boundary of their campsite so that the other people didn't go. Do I need to?
You need to start over with. Sorry, the neighbor waved, so I have to wave back to be neighborly.
All right, let's get our waves out.
You got to stare at a deer.
You got to wave to Tim.
I waved at the neighbor.